Strangers crashed on an alien planet. She was trained to kill him, but now he's the only one she can trust.
Journey on the planet Orvaris, Chapter 1. The crash on Orvaris. The Vatheros ship spiraled out of control in space, flames streaking through its metal frame as Karen fought with the control panel. Warning symbols flooded the display, while the ship's AI blared emergency alerts. Navigation system failure. Collision with unidentified asteroid. Altitude rapidly decreasing. Engines unresponsive. Karen gritted her teeth, her chest tightening as her view was consumed by the fiery orange streaks of Orvaris' atmosphere. She knew there was no way to regain control of the ship. One hand gripped the console, while the other hastily activated an emergency distress signal. But before she could finish, the engine exploded and the screen went black. In a moment, the Vatheros plunged into the atmosphere. Immense G-forces triggered the emergency escape system. The escape pod was ejected from the ship, and Karen watched helplessly as her precious vessel shattered in the sky. Her vision was momentarily blurred as the pod's walls slammed into her, sending her into freefall toward an unknown landscape. Meanwhile, Earth's pilot Liam Carter was on an expedition when the Argo's ship suddenly malfunctioned. In the empty void of space, warning lights blinked as he fought to slow the ship to avoid colliding with an asteroid. But the main engines weren't responding. A small asteroid shot past, pushing the ship toward the planet Orvaris. Argo's sending distress signal. Signal blocked. The AI's voice cut out for the final time before the system powered down. Inside the ship, Liam was violently jerked as the ship hit the surface. The impact sent everything into chaos. Burning debris mixed with smoke and dust. After confirming he hadn't broken any bones, he opened the escape pod and stepped out. Liam planted his feet on the red soil, the sky dark but streaked with cold, distant nebulae. In the distance, he spotted another ship that had crashed, black smoke rising into the sky. A sense of confusion mixed with curiosity washed over him, and he decided to head toward it. A thought suddenly struck him. He was not the only one on this planet. Chapter 2. A stranger and the first confrontation. A sharp pain shot through Karen's arm, making her clench her teeth. She pressed her back against a jagged, blue-gray lava rock, her grip tightening around the sharp survival blade in her hand. Dark blue blood oozed from a gash on her arm, a wound from the violent impact when the Vatheros crashed onto the untamed world of Orvaris. Her breathing was heavy, but her piercing gaze remained sharp as she scanned the area around her. Not far away, Liam Carter approached cautiously. He stopped, raising his hands slightly to show he meant no harm. His icy blue eyes narrowed as he studied the being before him. A woman with metallic silver skin, razor-sharp eyes, and intricate patterns etched across her face. She wasn't human, but if she wasn't an enemy, perhaps they had a chance to work together. Orvaris was anything but welcoming. Towering bioluminescent trees cast an eerie blue glow over the moss-covered ground, their faint light reflecting off the thick, swirling mist that hovered just above the surface. Hidden among the dense foliage, predators lurked, their movements masked by the unnatural stillness of the air. In the distance, an otherworldly screech echoed, sending a chill through the oppressive atmosphere. Karen remained on high alert. She locked eyes with Liam. Their languages were different, but eye contact was a universal form of communication. She didn't trust humans. The historical records of Zyvark painted them as invaders, exploiters, destroyers of ecosystems wherever they set foot. But in this moment, she couldn't afford recklessness. Liam, noticing her injury, slowly reached for a small medical pack on his belt. He held it up, then gestured toward his own arm, signaling his intention to help. But the second he took a step closer, Karen lunged. Her blade slashed through the air, grazing Liam's cheek. Instinct kicked in. He jumped back, drawing his own dagger. They locked eyes, muscles tensed, both ready to strike. Liam's breath quickened as he realized she was faster and stronger than any human. She was dangerous, and he couldn't afford to underestimate her. Karin launched another attack. Her blade whistled through the air, but Liam dodged just in time. He didn't want to fight, but he also wasn't going to let himself be killed. In a split-second maneuver, he grabbed her wrist and twisted, forcing her down. But Karin wasn't easily subdued. She drove a powerful kick into his ribs, sending him stumbling back. They clashed on a moss-covered ground, each strike measured, each movement filled with wary precision. Then a deep, guttural growl rumbled from within the jungle, stopping them both in their tracks. From the shadows, a massive beast emerged. It had the hulking body of a bull, but was covered in thick, armored scales. Its eyes glowed like burning embers, and saliva dripped from its razor-sharp teeth, sizzling against the ground like acid. It was a predator, one that clearly ruled this planet's food chain. Karin and Liam exchanged a glance. In an instant, they both knew their fight no longer mattered. If they didn't work together, they'd be nothing more than prey. Liam took a cautious step back, tightening his grip on his blade. Karin rose to her feet, instinctively pressing her back against his, ready for battle. The beast let out another earth-shaking roar before charging, its massive claws tearing through the ground as it lunged. "Run!" Liam shouted. But Karin was already moving. In one swift motion, she drew a compact energy pistol from her belt and fired, hitting the creature directly in the eye. It let out a deafening screech. Staggering, but refusing to fall, Liam didn't hesitate. He yanked a plasma grenade from his gear and hurled it. The explosion ripped through the beast's armored hide, sending it howling in agony before it finally turned and vanished into the jungle. Both of them stood there, breathing hard, staring at each other. The hostility between them was gone. They had a bigger problem now, Orvaris itself. Karin still didn't fully trust Liam, but she knew survival alone on this planet was impossible. She gave him a small nod, a silent agreement of temporary alliance. Liam gathered his gear, glancing at her. "We need water and shelter before nightfall. Orvaris isn't forgiving." Karin didn't understand his words, but she could read his expression. She nodded again, then turned and started walking, leading the way. Behind them, the traces of their brief but intense fight remained, marking the beginning of an uneasy partnership between two beings from different worlds. Their struggle for survival on Orvaris had only just begun. Chapter 3: Creatures of Orvaris. Orvaris was anything but a hospitable world. It was wild, untamed, a place where every living thing was a predator, and the planet itself seemed determined to eliminate any intruders. Solar storms crackled across the sky, sending streaks of electric blue lightning tearing through the atmosphere. By day, the heat was relentless, scorching the surface to near unlivable levels. By night, the cold was just as merciless, plunging temperatures low enough to freeze the breath in one's lungs. This was not a world for the weak. Karin and Liam had quickly realized that survival here was impossible without cooperation. After agreeing to search for water, they left the crash site behind and ventured deeper into the Orvarian jungle. Towering bioluminescent trees bathed the undergrowth in an eerie glow. Strange, thorn-covered vines slithered between branches like sentient creatures, waiting for the unwary. The air was thick with humidity and carried the acrid scent of minerals seeping up from beneath the planet's crust. Karin led the way with the cautious grace of a seasoned warrior, her every movement deliberate. Liam followed close behind, his grip firm on his energy rifle, eyes scanning their surroundings for danger. Before long, they discovered a small stream cutting through two massive boulders draped in thick, moss-like growths. The water was clear, reflecting the dim light filtering through the canopy above. Karin crouched and activated a compact bioscanner to test the water safety. Meanwhile, Liam kept watch, every muscle in his body tense with instinctual wariness. A sound cut through the silence. It was a low, guttural hiss, almost like the wind whistling through jagged rocks, except it carried an unmistakable air of menace. Liam turned sharply, his sharp blue eyes scanning the dense foliage. "We're being watched," he muttered, barely above a whisper. Karin didn't reply, but her fingers slowly wrapped around the hilt of her weapon. Something moved in the periphery of her vision, fast, predatory. A fraction of a second later, the jungle exploded into chaos. A massive beast lunged from the undergrowth with a deafening snarl, its razor-sharp fangs bared. A Avok. The native predator was a nightmarish blend of feline agility and reptilian resilience. Its sleek, jet-black scales gleamed under the faint light, its eyes burning with a molten red glow. Clawed limbs, powerful enough to crush bone, flexed as it charged forward with terrifying speed. It was larger than an off-road vehicle, and by the way it moved, silent, calculated, it was clear this wasn't its first hunt. Liam reacted on instinct, raising his rifle and firing. A bolt of searing plasma struck the creature's hide, but instead of piercing, the shot only caused a brief shimmer over its armored scales before dissipating. Useless. Karin moved faster. She dodged sideways, drawing a sleek energy blade that flared to life in a deadly blue hue. The Avok let out a guttural snarl and slashed at Liam with claws the size of daggers. He barely managed to throw himself aside before the ground where he had been standing was torn apart in a cloud of shredded moss and dirt. Karin seized the opening. She leaped onto the creature's back and drove her blade down with lethal precision. But the Avok's hide was as tough as reinforced plating. The sword embedded only an inch before catching against unyielding scales. The monster roared, thrashing violently, throwing Karin off. She hit the ground hard, rolling before springing back to her feet, unfazed. Liam didn't waste a second. He reached for his belt, yanking a plasma grenade free, activated the device, and hurled it directly into the beast's open maw. A heartbeat later, a blinding explosion erupted inside the Avok's mouth. The creature howled in agony as fire and raw energy seared its insides. It staggered, its once fluid movements now erratic. Karin didn't hesitate. She lunged forward, her blade arcing through the air, slicing into the vulnerable flesh beneath its throat. One precise strike, deep and clean. The Avok let out one final, gurgling growl before collapsing, its massive body shuddering before going still. For a long moment, neither Karin nor Liam spoke. Their breaths came in sharp, controlled gasps as they stood over the corpse of the slain predator. The fight had been swift, brutal, a reminder of how unforgiving Orvaris was. Liam finally broke the silence. He exhaled, shaking his head in disbelief. "Well, I guess I owe you one." Karin scoffed lightly, wiping her blade against the beast's hide before sheathing it. "Don't get comfortable," she said, her tone cool. "That was only one of them. This planet doesn't take kindly to intruders." Their eyes met, this time no longer as enemies, but as reluctant allies. The tension of their initial encounter had faded, replaced by something new. Respect. They weren't just two strangers anymore. They were survivors, bound by necessity in a world that sought to break them. And Orvaris was far from done testing them. Chapter 4: Reluctant Allies. A struggle for survival. After their life-or-death battle with the Avok, Karin and Liam came to a harsh realization. If they didn't work together, they wouldn't survive on Orvaris. The planet wasn't just dangerous, it was relentless, testing their endurance at every turn. Understanding this, they decided to set up a temporary camp near a large river they had stumbled upon during their struggle for survival. Building a shelter. Liam put his engineering skills to use, salvaging whatever usable parts remained from their crashed ships. His vessel, the Argos, was badly damaged, but there were still components that could be repurposed. Meanwhile, Karin's ship, the Vaethera, had lost engine function but still had some intact defense systems. Using every resource they had, Liam began constructing a temporary shelter that could withstand Orvaris' harsh climate and keep them safe from its predatory creatures. Karin, drawing on her expertise in xenobiology, focused on securing food. She identified several alien plant species growing near the river that seemed edible, though she had to carefully test them to avoid poisoning. Using her medical knowledge, she also created basic herbal remedies to treat wounds and boost their immune systems. At first, they worked in silence, only speaking when absolutely necessary. Neither trusted the other completely, but they both understood that suspicion would only drain their already limited energy. First conflicts. Cultural differences soon became a major obstacle. Karin came from Zalera, a civilization that valued personal strength and unwavering loyalty. Liam, on the other hand, was human, adaptable, innovative, and reliant on cooperation. When Liam started building a wooden barricade around their camp for protection, Karin immediately objected. To her, it was weak, no match for the creatures that roamed Orvaris. She insisted they should use parts from the Vaethera to create an energy shield instead. But Liam argued that this would drain too much power they might need later to repair the ships. The disagreement escalated into a heated argument. Each was convinced their way was the right one. But before they could settle it, a sudden attack by a pack of Dra forced them to act fast. Liam's wooden barricade bought them precious seconds to react, while Karin's energy shield provided a crucial defense against the creatures. It became clear neither method was perfect, but together they created a stronger system. After the battle, they decided to work on a more effective long-term defense. Karin helped Liam understand the local wildlife, while Liam taught her how to maximize their limited energy reserves. The first signs of trust. Over time, they slowly began to open up to each other. In the evenings, sitting by the fire, they shared stories of their homeworlds. Karin spoke of Zalera, a world of towering silver forests and floating cities, where the warrior class, Zyvark, were trained to be the protectors of their people. She told Liam about her mission, to find new resources to sustain her civilization. Liam, in turn, spoke of Earth, its crowded cities, the endless night skies that humans long to explore, the wars they fought, and their dreams of conquering the stars. When he mentioned his family, his voice carried a hint of sorrow. He had no idea if he would ever see them again. Karin, despite her warrior's exterior, had her own burdens. She had lost comrades on a past mission, and the weight of responsibility had never left her. In that moment, they found common ground. They were both lost souls, stranded in an unforgiving world, uncertain if they would ever return home. A plan for survival. As the days passed, they started planning for the long haul. Liam examined what was left of the Argos and realized that with some luck, he might be able to repair part of the ship's communication system. Meanwhile, Karin worked on modifying a Zalaran beacon. Though its range was limited, it was better than nothing. They knew the chances of rescue were slim. But at least now, neither of them had to face this fight alone. A fragile alliance had formed, built not on complete trust, but on the understanding that together, they stood a better chance of survival. Orvaris remained a hostile world, full of dangers lurking in the shadows. But for the first time, they weren't just two lost souls. They were allies, reluctant, but determined to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 5: The Early Days of Survival. Orvaris wasn't exactly known for its tolerance toward outsiders. The first few days after they decided to work together, Karin and Liam found themselves facing one deadly challenge after another. Every morning, they woke up to the blistering sun of this planet, a harsh, fiery light more intense than any sun Liam had ever seen. The heat rose from the ground, making the air thick and stifling. They settled near a small river to set up a temporary shelter. Water was their top priority, but they quickly realized the source wasn't exactly safe. Giant leech-like creatures clung to the surface, while unidentified microorganisms lurked that could pose a real danger if ingested. Karin, with her knowledge of biology, used whatever tech she had left to filter the water, but the resources were limited. Liam, with his mechanical and engineering experience, tried to repurpose parts from their wrecked ship, the Argos, to create a basic water filtration device. He also attempted to repair their communication system, hoping to send a distress signal, but the damage was so severe that it seemed nearly impossible. When it came time to find food, Karin took the lead. Her keen observational skills helped her identify which plants were edible, but even she wasn't immune to making mistakes. One night, after trying a type of purple berry, Karin became poisoned. Her body trembled, her skin turned pale, and her breathing became shallow and rapid. Liam panicked as he watched his companion collapse. Though he didn't fully understand Karin's biology, he did everything he could, forcing water into her, keeping her warm, and searching for any herbs that might help her recover. That night felt longer than any night they had faced before. Slowly, Karin came around, and for the first time, she looked at Liam with a different kind of gaze, no longer wary, but filled with gratitude. Without saying a word, she began to trust him more. Chapter 6: The Storm and the Revelation. As Karin and Liam began to adjust to life on Orvaris, nature decided to test them once again. One day, the sky suddenly turned a deep, eerie shade of blue. A strong wind picked up, and sand and dust swirled around like massive dragons racing through the air. A storm was coming. Karin and Liam hurried to gather their essential belongings and find shelter. They discovered a cave nearby, but as they stepped inside, they realized it wasn't empty. Strange creatures, resembling giant spiders with glowing eyes, hung from the ceiling. Karin instinctively reached for her weapon, but Liam grabbed her hand, signaling her to avoid any conflict. They quietly moved to a secluded corner of the cave, hiding from the creatures. Outside, the storm raged on, lightning striking the sky, shaking the very ground beneath them. The sand and wind howled like thousands of daggers cutting through the air. Trapped in the cave for days, they had no choice but to talk. For the first time, Karin shared the story of her home planet, Zalera, the tribal wars that tore her people apart, and how she joined a resource survey mission in hopes of finding a new world for her species. Liam, in turn, told her about Earth, a lush, green world filled with water and life, where he once had a family and friends. He spoke of his dream to explore the stars and why he joined the interstellar space program. His story left Karin in silence for a long time. She had never imagined that Earth's people could have such grand dreams and aspirations. Outside, the storm still roared, but between them, an invisible bond had begun to form. Chapter 7: The Creature's Mystery. Orvaris continued to be both a welcoming and terrifying planet. While exploring the surrounding terrain, Liam and Karin stumbled upon Orlith, a strange creature covered in layers of glowing green crystal-like formations. At first, Karin was on high alert, suspecting it to be a dangerous species and ready to draw her weapon. However, Liam quickly noticed that the creature showed no signs of aggression. On the contrary, it moved with a guiding presence, emitting a soft, pulsating light from within. Orlith possessed a remarkable ability to detect underground water. Whenever it passed near a water source, its crystalline skin shimmered with rippling blue waves. By following the creature's path, Liam and Karin discovered a vast underground lake, pure and clear, completely transforming their survival prospects. Over time, their dynamics shifted. No longer just reluctant allies forced to work together for survival. They began to trust each other. They hunted side by side, shared their food, and started discussing long-term plans. No longer just surviving, but truly living. Chapter 8. A Growing Trust. A Shift in Survival. In the days following their discovery of the underground water source, life for Liam and Karin changed significantly. With the constant fear of dying from thirst behind them, they were finally able to focus on something more important: long-term survival, and above all, understanding each other. Their first collaboration. One morning, Liam spent hours scavenging metal scraps from the wreckage of their ships, determined to build a makeshift water filtration system. Using whatever functional pipes he could find, he rigged a crude pressure system, combining charcoal and crushed stone as a filter. Under Orvaris's pale sunlight, clear droplets of water trickled from his improvised contraption. He grinned in quiet satisfaction. Karin stood nearby, watching intently. At first, she had little faith in the primitive human method, but when the first drops of purified water appeared, she had to admit, Liam had skills. Later, it was her turn to teach him. She led him to a dense thicket where vines coiled around the rocky cliffs. Plucking a small, deep blue fruit, she carefully split it in half and showed it to Liam. This is edible, but don't touch the outer skin while it's unripe. It secretes a mild toxin that causes paralysis. Liam squinted at the fruit, intrigued. So how do you eat it without poisoning yourself? For the first time since they met, Karin smiled. She dipped the exposed flesh of the fruit into water, swirled it gently, then held it out to him. The water washes away the toxins. Try it. Liam hesitated before taking a bite. A burst of tart sweetness spread across his tongue, leaving a pleasant aftertaste. He nodded in approval. Not bad. Karin crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow. Of course not. Learning from each other. Day by day, they became more in sync. Karin gradually let her guard down, no longer keeping as much distance between them. She began teaching Liam how to use a Zyvar plasma blade and energy bow. Every time he fumbled with the alien weapons, his clumsy human movements made her chuckle. Lower your elbow. If you don't, when it recoils, you might slice yourself. Liam scowled, but followed her instructions. After several tries, he started getting a feel for the weapon's weight and balance. He couldn't deny, Zyvar technology was far beyond anything he'd ever imagined. In return, Liam showed Karin how to start a fire using only natural materials. She watched skeptically as he rubbed two pieces of wood together. You seriously think you can create fire just by rubbing sticks? Watch and learn. Liam kept at it. After a few moments, wisps of smoke curled into the air, followed by the flicker of a small flame. Karin's expression shifted. Mild surprise, then something else. Sure, she could ignite a fire instantly with her equipment, but there was something oddly captivating about Liam's way. His persistence, his belief that with enough effort, anything was possible. Impressive, she admitted with a small nod. Thanks. You're not too bad yourself when it comes to weapon training. Liam grinned. Karin let out a rare laugh. The Orvaris sky. One night, as they sat beside a crackling fire on a cliff's edge, they gazed up at the vast Orvaris sky. Stars dotted the endless expanse, and twin crescent moons cast silver light over the rugged terrain. Liam exhaled softly. I never thought I'd call any place other than Earth home. Karin turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting the fire's glow. I know the feeling. I used to think I couldn't survive without my Zyvar comrades by my side. But maybe I was wrong. For a while, they sat in silence, letting the cool night air carry the scent of alien flora and damp stone. Liam finally spoke, his voice steady. I still want to find a way back, but if I had to stay, I think I'd be okay. Karin smiled, just a faint curve of her lips, but it carried a meaning he couldn't quite place. Instead of responding, she simply reached out, lightly touching the back of his hand. The gesture was small but spoke volumes: trust, companionship, and something unspoken between two beings from different worlds. They were no longer just two strangers stranded on an unknown planet. Through challenges, differences, and moments of shared survival, a bond had begun to form. Whether they admitted it or not, they were becoming part of Orvaris. And part of each other. Chapter 9. Looming Danger and Unspoken Emotions. Orvaris never stopped testing them. Lately, things had seemed more peaceful since Karin and Liam discovered a freshwater lake with the help of the Orlith creature. But just when humans start to feel secure, that's when real danger lurks. One early morning, before the Orvari sun had fully risen over the horizon, Liam decided to explore more of the surrounding area. Karin was still resting after a long night of patrolling, ensuring no dangerous creatures approached their shelter. But he had no idea that he had wandered straight into the territory of the Dr. Evok, the deadliest predators on this planet. The ambush. A deep, guttural growl rumbled from behind, sending chills down Liam's spine. He turned slowly, his heart pounding as he locked eyes with a massive Dr. Evok. Its glowing red eyes bore into him, and its sharp fangs glistened as it let out a low, menacing hiss, preparing to strike. Liam knew he had little chance of survival. He reached for his small plasma gun, but before he could fire, the beast lunged with terrifying speed. A powerful swipe sent him crashing into a jagged rock, pain shooting through his entire body. The heat of the creature's breath and the stench of raw meat filled the air as it crept closer, ready to finish him off. Karin heard the commotion from afar. Her warrior instincts kicked in instantly. This was the sound of danger. Without hesitation, she grabbed her weapon and sprinted toward the source of the noise. When she arrived, rage flared within her at the sight. Liam, cornered and bleeding, his arm and chest smeared with crimson. A fight for survival. Without a second thought, Karin activated combat mode. She lunged at the creature, slashing its side with her energy blade. The Dr. Evok let out a furious roar and turned to face its new opponent. It swiped at her, but she swiftly dodged and delivered a powerful kick to its head. The beast staggered but refused to go down. It grew more aggressive, its razor-sharp claws swiping at Karin, forcing her to stay in constant motion. Liam, despite his pain and exhaustion, knew he couldn't let her fight alone. Struggling, he lifted his plasma gun, took aim at the beast's glowing eyes, and fired. A flash of blue energy shot through the air, striking the Dr. Evok square in the eye. The creature howled in agony. Seizing the opportunity, Karin leaped onto its back and drove her energy blade deep into its neck. With one final, violent shudder, the monster collapsed, its final breath fading into the cold morning air. Karin landed gracefully, immediately turning to Liam, who was gasping for breath on the ground. She rushed to his side, kneeling beside him. "You're hurt." Liam let out a weak chuckle. "Just a scratch." Karin wasn't convinced. Blood soaked his clothes, and his breathing was ragged. "Stop talking nonsense. We need to get you back now." She lifted him, taking most of his weight onto her own shoulders. Liam was much heavier than her, but she gritted her teeth and pushed forward, determined to get him to safety. Tending wounds and realizing the truth. Karin carefully laid Liam on the makeshift bed inside their cave shelter. She quickly grabbed the medicinal herbs she had collected earlier, crushing them into a paste before gently applying them to his wounds. Liam winced but said nothing, his eyes fixed on her. "You could have run," Liam murmured, his voice weak. "Why did you risk coming back for me?" Karin's hands froze. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty. She had been trained to prioritize her own survival, to never take unnecessary risks for others, especially not for a stranger from an entirely different civilization. But when she saw Liam on the verge of death, hesitation never even crossed her mind. "I don't know," she whispered, "but I couldn't let you die." Liam held her gaze, and in that moment, something shifted between them. Before, they were just two strangers forced to work together to survive. But now, he realized Karin was more than an ally. On this unforgiving planet, she was the most important person in his world. They were no longer just two lost souls fighting to stay alive. They were something more, bound together by shared battles, by unspoken emotions, and by something neither of them could ignore any longer. Chapter 10. A Deeper Connection. Orvaris was never truly peaceful, but tonight, beneath a vast, starlit sky, everything felt still. The wind whispered through the rocky cliffs, while the twin moons cast a silvery glow over the rugged terrain, bathing it in an otherworldly light. The campfire flickered between them, its warm glow reflecting in the deep, contemplative eyes of Karin and Liam. After surviving the deadly battle with the Dr. Vok, they were no longer just allies bound by necessity. They were something more. No longer strangers trapped together. No longer just two souls fighting against a hostile world. A bond had formed, one stronger than either of them had anticipated. Karin studied Liam, her gaze filled with emotions she had never allowed herself to express. She, a warrior of the Zyvar, raised with the weight of duty and the unshakable loyalty to her people, now felt her heart waver for a man from Earth. Liam recognized that look. Over the past days, they had shared more than just survival strategies and battle scars. They had shared pieces of themselves, fragments of their past, glimpses of fragile hopes for a future they weren't even sure existed. He had never imagined that, in the vastness of the universe, he would find something this real, this profound. But it was Orvaris, this wild, unforgiving planet, that had shaped them, forged their connection through storms, battles, and long nights spent relying on each other. "Do you ever think we were meant to end up here?" Liam asked, his voice low, carrying an unexpected warmth that Karin had never felt from anyone before. She let out a soft, knowing smile, her amber eyes gleaming under the moonlight. "Fate," she mused. "My people don't believe in such things. We believe in choices, and I chose to stay." Liam felt his heart pound against his ribs. Her words weren't poetic, nor were they elaborate, but they carried more weight than anything he had ever heard. He reached out hesitantly, his fingers brushing against hers. She didn't pull away. Instead, her grip tightened ever so slightly, as if silently confirming what words could not. The fire crackled, casting shifting shadows around them. Two souls who had once been strangers, now irrevocably bound together on a planet that should have torn them apart. That night, they shared more than just warmth. They shared trust, understanding, and something neither of them could deny any longer. There were no more barriers between them, no more doubt, no more hesitation. Just two hearts, beating in unison beneath the endless expanse of the cosmos. Chapter 11. A New Life. Karin sat quietly by the stream, her hand resting instinctively on her abdomen. She could feel the subtle changes in her body, the fatigue, the quicker heartbeat, and an unfamiliar energy stirring within her. The sensation was undeniable, even though she had never imagined that a Zavarkos could conceive a child with a human. Doubt and fear clouded her thoughts. This had never happened before in Zavarko's history. Could the baby survive? Would her body accept such an unnatural hybrid? When she returned to their shelter, Liam noticed the change in her immediately. He stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "What's wrong?" Karin hesitated, her gaze drifting to the endless sky of Orvaris. Finally, her voice came, barely above a whisper, trembling with uncertainty. "I'm pregnant." Liam froze. He didn't speak at first, simply staring at her, as if trying to process the weight of her words. But then, instead of fear or disbelief, his expression softened into a warm, genuine smile, one that instantly dissolved the turmoil in Karin's heart. "Then we'll protect our child together," he said, his voice steady with conviction. "We'll figure this out." She looked at him, unsure whether to feel reassured or more terrified. But in that moment, she realized she wasn't alone. Preparing for the unknown. They wasted no time preparing for the baby's arrival. Liam used every bit of his knowledge to reinforce their shelter, constructing a sturdier structure to withstand Orvaris's violent storms. He salvaged usable parts from their crashed ships, creating a heating system and additional defenses against the planet's lurking predators. Meanwhile, Karin focused on securing safe, nutrient-rich food. She discovered a fruit growing on Darlith trees that contained vital nutrients for pregnancy. But harvesting them was no simple task. The fruit only grew on sheer cliff faces. Together, she and Liam devised a way to reach them, crafting makeshift climbing ropes from the planet's durable plant fibers. With each passing day, their bond deepened. They were no longer just two survivors forced into an alliance. They had become something more, a family, forged by necessity but strengthened by choice. Karin's fears. Still, Karin couldn't shake the lingering fear in her heart. What if the child didn't survive? Worse, what if it was something her body couldn't handle? There were nights she woke suddenly, her body tense with anxiety as she felt the undeniable presence of life growing within her. One evening, as Liam sat whittling a piece of wood into a small figure, a toy for their unborn child, Karin quietly approached him. "What if the baby isn't like us?" she murmured, her voice laced with worry. "What if it can't survive?" Liam set down the carving, reaching for her hand. His grip was firm, reassuring. "Karin, our child is a miracle. No matter what happens, we will do everything in our power to protect it. We've survived this planet. We can do this too." His eyes shone with unwavering belief, and for the first time, Karin allowed herself to hope. A glimmer of hope. Then, it discovered something unexpected. While exploring deeper into the wilderness, they stumbled upon an ancient cave filled with mysterious carvings. The symbols weren't entirely unfamiliar. Karin recognized traces of an old language she could partially decipher. To their astonishment, one of the engravings depicted a being with features of two different species, a hybrid, a fusion of alien bloodlines. Their hearts pounded with realization. This wasn't the first time. Their child wasn't an impossible anomaly. Others had existed before. Liam squeezed Karin's hand as they stood before the ancient markings. "See, we're not the first to walk this path. If they survived, then so will our child." Karin took a deep breath, feeling the undeniable pulse of new life growing inside her. The fear remained, but alongside it, a newfound determination. They were no longer just two lost souls stranded on an alien world. They were a family. And soon, their family would grow. Chapter 12. A New Journey for the Family. The sun of Orvaris slowly rose, peeling away the darkness of night and casting warm golden rays over the untamed wilderness. Dewdrops clung to the leaves, shimmering like tiny jewels in the morning light. The gentle murmur of the stream blended with the calls of native creatures, creating a symphony that welcomed the new day. But today was not just any day. Today, Karen was about to give birth. The birth of new life. Karen winced in pain, her breath sharp and labored. Beside her, Liam knelt anxiously, his hands trembling as he tried to support her. Pain was not unfamiliar to her, but this was different. This was more than physical agony. It was fear, fear of the unknown. Would her body be able to give birth to children that carried the blood of two species? Would they survive? Before she could dwell on those thoughts, a piercing cry rang through the forest. Karen looked down at the newborn cradled in her arms. A baby boy with golden eyes that shimmered like the Orvaris sun, dark hair streaked with metallic glints under the light. His skin bore a bronze hue, a perfect blend of Liam's sun-kissed complexion and Karen's faint violet undertones. Liam leaned in, his eyes filled with emotion. "Solis," he whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to the baby's forehead. "You are our light." But before they could fully take in the miracle, another cry broke through the air. Karen gritted her teeth, summoning the last of her strength. And then another child was born. As they laid eyes on her, both Liam and Karen were momentarily breathless. Her eyes glowed like distant stars, reflecting the vastness of the galaxy. Her hair was silver white, gleaming like moonlight, and her skin carried the soft iridescence of a pearl-tinged twilight. Karen held her close, her voice barely above a whisper, but filled with love. "Nyx, you are the eternal night, the quiet song of the cosmos." Tears welled in Liam's eyes. He had never imagined that in the wilds of this alien world, amidst the remnants of disaster, they could create something so profound. These children were more than just their offspring. They were living proof that two civilizations could unite, a symbol of hope for a future beyond their isolation. The first days. Life with two newborns was anything but easy. Karen had to learn to care for them in ways that defied Zyvar customs, as her people had never raised children in small familial units. Liam, skilled in survival but unprepared for fatherhood, struggled to adapt to his new role. From the very beginning, Solis was energetic, constantly reaching for the world around him with boundless curiosity shining in his golden eyes. Nyx, in contrast, was quiet and observant, taking in the world with a depth of understanding that unsettled Karen at times. Sometimes, when Nyx gazed at her mother, it felt as though she saw beyond the surface, beyond the fears Karen tried to hide. Karen had feared that this planet would reject her children, that they would be fragile, unable to withstand Orvaris. But she was wrong. They were strong. They were thriving. A true family. As Solis and Nyx grew, Liam and Karen taught them the ways of Orvaris. Liam showed Solis how to hunt using primitive tools, while Karen guided Nyx in identifying safe plants and natural remedies. Though they were born on an alien world, they were learning how to survive, carrying knowledge from both of their parents' civilizations. One night, as they sat around a fire, Nyx suddenly looked up at her parents. "Are we the only ones?" Liam and Karen exchanged glances. It was a question they had often asked themselves. For years, they had seen no signs of intelligent life, but that did not mean they were truly alone. Karen ran a hand through Nyx's silver hair, her voice soft. "Perhaps one day, we will find the answer." A signal of hope. Though survival had become their way of life, Liam and Karen never abandoned their ultimate goal: fixing the ship, finding a way to reach the outside world. Night after night, they worked tirelessly, piecing together broken circuits and testing old components, knowing their chances were slim but refusing to give up. Then, one day, Solis and Nyx came running, excitement in their eyes. "Mom, Dad, look!" They turned toward the sky. A bright streak cut through the heavens, leaving a shimmering trail in its wake. A meteor, perhaps, or something more. Liam reached for Karin's hand, squeezing it tightly. Beneath the endless stars, they were no longer stranded souls, lost and forgotten. They were a family. And whatever the future held, they had found the most important thing of all: love, unity, and hope. Thank you for watching Sci-Fi Alien Stories. If you love sci-fi tales about aliens and cosmic mysteries, make sure to hit like to support the channel and subscribe so you don't miss the next thrilling story. What do you think about today's story? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you're the first to uncover new mysteries. See you in the next video.